What's up, everybody? Happy Sunday morning to you, or Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Cards and Cold Brew. I got my sweet little cold brew machine here. One of the best investments I made. It's like 25 bucks and it saves me so much money. So I'll be drinking my coffee here. I wanted to skip Cards and Cake Friday night. I just wasn't feeling it, even though I did have all those cupcakes. If you saw, I got half off on those St. Patrick's Day cupcakes because it was the day after St. Patty's Day. My taste buds don't care. My stomach doesn't care. But anyway, this is going to be a great live stream. We might have a special guest on later. But this one, this live stream, I really want to go over timing the market, because this is something that's always on my mind. Because look, there's a lot of different factors going on. We got sports, we got government checks and stimulus, we have things reopening, we got product being released. There's a lot of factors influencing whether people have money and if people are buying sports cards, if they're buying vintage, if they're buying modern, if they're entering breaks, whatever they're doing. So I like to piece all this together and at least get a better idea as to what is going on in the sports card market, so I have one step ahead. So I'll be going over my thoughts over the next couple months based on the couple calendars that I've created to give some clarity as to what's going on. Got to start with my catchphrase. Welcome back. Now let's get to work. Okay, let me say hi to some of you guys here. Shelly, what's up? I hope you're on here. It looks like that reminder was set last night. Craig C, good to see you. Daniel, what's up, man? Good to see you as well. Thanks for joining. There you are, Craig C. Dude, guru is a big word. I'd like to say I'm a talking head that likes to share ideas with other people that and create a community out of it. But that's pretty much it. Steven, great to see you, man. Happy Sunday. And we got greetings from Germany. That's cool. My girlfriend's German. So ich lerne Deutsch. Es ist hart. Not an easy language to learn, but I'm getting there. I'm about 700 days straight on my Duolingo app. 700, about 2 years straight on learning German. Still have a long way to go, but it's very cool. And Craig C is in Northern California, so it's 10 a.m. your time as well. What's up, hockey? Baseball market. Here's the thing. I'm not a baseball guy. Like I don't care about baseball so much. To me, it's just a bit too slow. There are too many games. But I was buying baseball cards in November, and it's a good segue that you asked this, because in November, that was the best window of buying. That was the best window of opportunity to buy. I saw deals on baseball, on basketball, cards that were literally half the price of what they were in late December and January, just 2 months prior. And I'll show you one of them, because when I saw that, this was November, when I saw prices were so low back then for baseball and basketball and even football in a lot of ways. But I was asking myself, why is it so low now? Because I feel like I should be buying, and yet I didn't buy nearly enough because I was still a bit reserved. I still wasn't buying heavily graded cards or $500 or $1,000 cards. I was still sticking to $20 cards, $50 cards. But I said to myself, it's October/November. People don't have stimulus money. People are saving up for the holidays. And we know that when the holidays start, the day after Thanksgiving, that's when it's going to be a frenzy of buying. And I said, well, why not buy now? Because I really feel like things are going to pick up. And I bought a bit, but that was the best window. And so I bought baseball cards there, and I sold a couple Mike Trouts for 2x the price already. I have a couple, what's his name? Aaron Judge. I keep wanting to say Mike Judge just to combine the two, but I think Mike Judge was the creator of The Simpsons. So Aaron Judge and Mike Trout, I bought those guys just because I thought, I did some research and I was like, these prices are low and I'll do that. But I'm not buying baseball now because I find that there's going to be a lot more opportunity based on what I'm going to lay out in the next couple minutes. And I'll go over the reasons. And I want to have your input as well, because I might be completely wrong, or I might be missing some factors, but I want to see what you guys think of it. There we go. So there's some. What's up, Eric? Good to see you, man. All right. So let's get into a couple things. Preston, what's up? AZ, always in the house. Heitzen, or Heitzen, good to see you. I haven't seen you here before. Great to see you. Windy City Flipper. All right, Billy, I appreciate you. Let me get into showing you guys some of the stuff on what's going on in the market right now, and then I'll go over to to my actual calendar that I've created, and then we can make sense of what the actual market is looking like over the next couple months. So let me do an entire screen. Let me make sure I'm sharing this. Half the time I would share this and I'd realize I'm talking to myself and the screen's not shared. So if you just take a look at market movers, these are the cards in basketball that have dropped the most over the last 30 days. And I like to look at this just so I have a sense as to what are all these players having in common. And you see here, David Robinson, Magic Johnson, Shaq, Allen Iverson, Karl Malone, Isaiah Thomas, Jordan, Irving, Magic, Shaq, Anthony Simmons. Most of these are Hall of Famers, right? Kobe, Patrick Ewing, Allen Iverson. So if you go over here and you see the amount they've dropped, 58%, 60%, 70%. This is just in the last 30 days. So I get excited about this because I know, all right, the phase of vintage and 90s and 80s and whatever else, that's over with. It looks like that is done. And if you take a look at this chart, there are just two cards here. This is Allen Iverson's Topps Chrome rookie card in PSA 9 and Karl Malone's PSA 9 86 Fleer. And you see, this is just leading up to it right here. And then right around there, the end of January, things just took off for about a month. It was like a 1 month period where vintage and 90s were just the thing. And I mean, like, to go from $838 for a Karl Malone PSA 9, $838 to $2,700. And if that's not legit, $2,400 and $2,300, that's absurd. So I'm looking at those cards now, but I actually think that there's a better time to buy Hall of Famers and these 90s guys based on a couple things. But I just want to show you that because that's what I look at first. And over to football, it's the same thing. Last 30 days, Jerry Rice, Eric Dickerson, Brett Favre, John Elway, Lamar. This is a bit weird, Lamar Jackson, but I think that may have just been one or two sales that threw it off. Brett Favre, Emmitt Smith, Tom Brady, Emmitt Smith, Carson Wentz, Stidham. Those are the only guys I see here that are active players, but Rice, Emmitt Smith, Troy Aikman. All right, so we know that that's behind us. And then lastly, same thing with baseball. Manny Ramirez, Pete Alonso. Well, Pete Alonso is an exception, but Ken Griffey Jr., A-Rod, Bo Jackson, Ricky Henderson. So you see that that is what's going on now. But if we go back here, and I'm going to remove the comment here. But so what got me excited about this is that I remember seeing a very similar trend back in October and November. And I was talking to Dustin, personal finance dad, about an Anthony Davis Prism PSA 10 card. And this card, in fact, I'm going to show you right here. This card had peaked at like $3,000. It's something absurd. Let me see here. Add to stream. Okay, so this was a newsletter I had back in November. And so you see here, oh no, October. So you see here last sale, October 22nd. So these were some of the cards where I was like, how in the world would this happen? And, like you see here, I'm finding a ton of deals on guys like LeBron James and AD. And it's like, this was right after they had won the finals. You see here, this was the playoff push. And then this was the last sale. And you go, you guys won the championship. You did it. And yet the prices are so damn low. And then here's the Anthony Davis Prism. Like, this was just absurd to me. But this leads me to why I wanted to put this calendar together, because I go, what happened for this card to go absurd, like ridiculous, to almost $1,250 here for his 9 and then down to $415, right? Because if you can get Anthony Davis's Prism PSA 9 for $415, you can get like 10 of those and make a good 3x, 4x your money in just a couple months, not even waiting that long. So I just wanted to show that to you. And then now let's get into the calendar because that's the important part right here. Let me say hi to a couple of you guys. Raven Interest, what's up? Oh, sweet. We got someone from UK. We got Germany, UK. I know we have Costa Rica, Thailand, a couple other players or a couple other countries represented. Danka. That's right. Mike Judge. Beavis. Oh, okay. Maybe Mike Judge was Beavis and Butthead. I thought he was the Simpsons, unless he was both. But very cool. All right, Carol. What's up? Yeah, I mean, this was a while ago. And that's the cool thing, is that when you look at a whole year and you can look at all the different sports, I don't think you even need to know sport, like a specific sport, that well, because if you know that this is the time to buy this sport, you can get in on some of the key players that you know everyone's going to chase leading up to the season. And if you're just willing to do it 3 months ahead of time or 4 months ahead of time, then it's like, well, like I invest in Trout and Judge, and I might do the same thing in soccer, like Messi and Ronaldo. I bought Messi and Ronaldo cards. I have 2 left out of the 17 that I bought, and every single card had sold for at least 2 times the amount. So I don't have to know much about soccer to at least do a little bit of research and say, all right, these guys, they're the most popular, they have the best reputation, they have the most Instagram following. And if I just get it at the price I feel is very low based on the time of year and based on what's going to happen, then I'm good with that. Okay, so here is the chart, and I see a lot more comments coming in, but I want to show you guys the calendar I've put together. And this is going over product releases. Let me share the screen. This is product releases. Let's see if this is it. Yeah, here we go. Let me make sure I'm sharing it before I start talking. Okay. So this is going over a couple things, but this is the rest of March. And what really sticks out to me is, for one, we have the stimulus checks being deposited, our last round of stimulus checks, unless they do one after this, but I really don't think so. So to me, I go, all right, people have money. They're at least getting $1,400 that they wouldn't have ordinarily expected. So that's good there. Hockey Upper Deck Series 2 is released. That's pretty much it for the rest of March. And then we have spring trainings going on. NBA playoff picture is just starting to form. It's coming together. NHL playoff picture starting to form. We're getting that separation from mediocre teams, and they're starting to drop off. And some teams are starting to be 5 games over 500 or 10 games over 500. We're seeing that. March Madness is going on. And then NFL free agency has been ridiculous. So at the end of it, I go, all right, people are receiving money. They got tax returns. There are PPP loans if you're self-employed, but there's not much time or access to travel because school is still in session. I think a lot of parents are tied to their kids, whether they're at home or whether their school's actually out there. Vintage is cooled off. NFL free agency is really fueling the card prices. Most baseball has continued to climb. Okay, so that makes sense, right? Nothing crazy here. What I see that's on sale right now is vintage or 90s, but I actually have a reason to believe that will there might be a better opportunity to go with vintage or 90s in the next couple months. And the only thing I feel like is high right now are NFL free agents and players in trade rumors, and that's because I've been looking at NFL players to invest in off-season, but a lot of them have to do with this off-season hype, and their prices have actually gone up from what they were in November and December. So it's a bit ridiculous. But moving on to April. Okay, we got opening day coming up. I'm going to make this a bit bigger. Opening day coming up April 1st. Prism NBA is released. Now check out how many products are being released in April. NHL Skybox Metal Universe, which that's going to be a really cool set to see metal return for hockey. NFL Select is released. Now, I think this is going to be retail. That's what they said earlier. But the fact that that's released is huge. Contenders Optic, Bowman Baseball, NBA Contenders, NFL Flawless, NFL Chronicles, and then we have the draft at the end of the month. And so my summary for April is that there's a lot of product, and I imagine that there's going to be a lot of money going towards different breaks, right? There's a lot of products to chase. So boxes, breaks, a lot of people chasing retail at the store. Then you have opening day. So I would imagine ESPN and Fox Sports and whatever other media outlets flood to opening day in baseball, talking about, who's going to surprise and da-da-da-da. And a lot of the other maybe football related stuff or other sports kind of taper off and take the back seat to baseball. Next month, we also have the NBA and NHL playoffs starting to heat up. So I would imagine people are getting more serious about what teams and what players they predict to go far in the playoffs. And then the pre-draft hype will be at its highest. So now we have the drafts coming up. Are there going to be last-second trades? Is that there's going to be a lot of attention there? So with all the new product and with all the active sports going on in some way, even the NFL draft, I would not be surprised if vintage or Hall of Famers actually go down next month even more, just because there's no room for it. So that's at least my thought process there. Maybe it goes down another 10%, 20%. It can't drop too much just because there's like there's legitimacy to those players and to those cards, but I could see it go down a bit more. And then also I have 20 games or 25 games into April, like the very last week of April, I could see some opportunity to buy just because we always have that preseason hype. And then a lot of the players disappoint, right? There's only a handful of players and teams that will actually do better than what they're predicted to do before the year. But for the majority of the players, they could just start off a bit slow, or even if they're average or doing pretty good, they have to do amazing in order for the prices to continue to climb. So I'd be looking at late April to see what players have started to sink down in price. That's more of my thought process. Okay. NFL players around the speculation should be high. Top NBA playoff contenders. I would imagine the LeBrons. Who else? Maybe Kawhi Leonard. I'm trying to think who else. Giannis. Some of the guys that people are really flocking to for the playoffs would do very high. And then also remember, NBA Hall of Fame class will be coming up the next month. So this is probably going to go up. And I forgot if it's Tim Duncan and whoever else, but if you're looking into NBA Hall of Fame class, I would imagine people are thinking about it at least in April because it's going to be at the end of May. But if you can get in on that sooner, then you might as well do so. All right, I'm going to go back to the comments because I have no idea what you guys are saying. I'm just staring at my screen. But let me go over May. And all right, so check this out. We don't have many products in May. We have the draft ending. The last day of the draft is May 1st. The NHL playoff start. And then we got Impeccable. We have tax day. So in terms of taxes, I would imagine that people that expect money to come to them, I would imagine more people do that earlier in the year, but people that owe taxes wait till the last second. That's just more of like, common sense logic. So I don't know if this would be less money or more money when taxes are extended an extra month, but I would imagine, more people that owe money are doing it last second. We also have the Dallas Card Show in May, and then NBA playoffs begin. And then we got the NBA Hall of Fame announcement. So very little product. We got the last day of the NFL draft, which leaves a lot of the attention going to the other sports. So when the draft is over, I think NFL is pretty much going to be forgotten about because we have baseball 30, 40 games in. We have NBA playoffs, we have NHL playoffs, we have everything else. Plus the summer is going to be super busy. Okay, so MLB in full swing, playoff start. So I think that's where a lot of the attention goes. I doubt people will have as much money. The other thing too is weather will be warm, school will start to be let out, and I think travel will really start to pick up in May. So my concern with May is that if people don't have the stimulus money, and there's all these other sports going on, and kids are out of school, and this is the first time they can travel in over a year, I think a lot of people will choose the travel because it's much needed. It's like, wow, we got over winter, plus we didn't get to do this last year. Let's go on that cruise. Let's go, I don't know, either maybe just camping or go somewhere where you're now allowed to go. So that's at least where I'm thinking. And then this is where I think football would be the best, right? In May, I would imagine with all these other opportunities, May would be the perfect time because the trade rumors should have stopped. The draft is over. The next bit of hype would be for training camp coming up in July. So, and then also, where is there room for Hall of Famers or vintage during May when people don't have the extra money and when all these other sports are in their peak of the season? Okay, and of course, Hall of Fame inductees should be high. NBA, NHL playoff contenders should be high as well. All right, let me stop sharing, go back to the comments real quick just to say hi, and then I'll come back. Okay, cool. None for me. None for me. I appreciate that. Hot Nickels. Jordan Love is a very interesting investment. I don't think he should play next season at all, but man, I think he's one of those guys where you wait for his prices to go down, like when the 2021 NFL product comes out. And if Jordan Love hasn't played and you just know he's sitting there waiting in in Green Bay, which Green Bay, I don't know what they have going on there, but they have Brett Favre, who is one of the best ever. And then right after Brett Favre, they have Aaron Rodgers, who's one of the best ever. And I don't know if it's just like they learned from each other and the system there is great for quarterbacks, but Jordan Love, I think, would be a great investment when he's super under the radar. And I think with 2020 Prism being so new, it's not there just yet, but perhaps halfway through the season, or if he's not playing at all next year and then 2021 Prism comes out, I think that would be a great opportunity to get in on Love. Okay, let's see here. Nice. Yo, Jason, what's up, man? Yeah, I mean, I don't know about AD now. I'm looking at his cards, but I don't know how low they've gotten. I just wish I would have invested during that super low period, but I feel like that's going to happen anyway. Yeah, we're going to be talking a bit about Olympics as well. In June is actually going to be a pretty busy month. Let me go over to June and show you guys what's going to happen there, because this is a very interesting summer. So let's see here. Okay. All right, so now we're on to June, and I'm going to do the rest of this calendar and try and piece it together. But what I want to know is, what am I missing out on? What factors? Because look, I don't know what's going to happen with the economy as a whole. I don't know what's going to happen with someone tweeting something, or NFL Top Shot, or NFL's version of Top Shot coming out and then taking money away from football cards. There's a lot of stuff I don't know. I'm just trying to piece together the stuff that I do know. Okay, so June, all NBA and NHL playoffs, and then we got the anticipation of the Summer Olympics. So that's going to happen in July. And obviously the media attention and the speculation is going to start building then. Baseball is near the mid-season, but I would imagine, yeah, NBA and NHL playoffs rules most of the airwaves. School is out, weather's warm. Yeah, I think travel is going to be crazy. All taxes and government programs should be done. So I'm taking this as less money from government and overall, but also a lot of opportunities to spend it elsewhere where we didn't have that over the last several months. So what's on sale in June? I have it as baseball cards of players that have disappointed, NBA players on teams that never made the playoffs. So we're talking about like Karl Anthony Towns, and you're talking about, I don't know, 20 of the teams, or like at least 15 of the teams out there, the best players of those teams that just did not make the cut. I would imagine they would be at their bottom in June. And because in June, you have school out, you have travel, you have a lot of different distractions, you have the Olympics coming up, you have all these things, that could be a great time to buy, because I think a lot of the other money is just going to go to leisure and to all these other areas. So June for NBA, I think, would be great. And at NFL, also remember, training camp starts for rookies, I believe, July 21st. So this could be the best time to buy NFL, because once basketball is over, once hockey is over, that's when everyone's going to shift their focus to training camp and preseason and what players to look out for. So June, I think, could be a really good final window to buy. Okay, so what's high in June? Playoff contenders. Yeah, the guys that are still in the playoffs going towards the championship in both hockey and basketball. The inductees, because I forgot what date the induction was. Let me see here. Okay, May 26th. Let me see here. Yeah, maybe the inductees would have cooled off by now. But either way, NBA, NHL, active players. And also remember, yeah, Space Jam is coming out July 16th. So not only the new Space Jam cast, because you have LeBron James, Damian Lillard, Klay Thompson, I think Anthony Davis, and I'd have to look up a couple others. They are supposed to be in the new Space Jam, obviously led by LeBron James. But then the original Space Jam, I would not be surprised if the cast of the original Space Jam sees a little bump as well, because usually when you have a new movie out in theaters, a lot of times they'll show the original on TNT or TBS or something like that. So I would not be surprised if Space Jam is really on a lot of TV stations for about 2 weeks time. And then Olympic related cards should be getting really hot. So the Lance Armstrong, the Michael Phelps, all the NBA stuff, like stuff I was buying months ago and I've already sold most of it. I could imagine that getting really hot as well, like a Dream Team stuff. So I'm working on the rest of this calendar. I don't have July finished just yet, but I'm going to work on the rest. But I just want to get your guys' thoughts on what you think of this and if you would add any other factors. Oh, it looks like we have a special guest here. Let me say hi. Let me say hi to you guys and then see what else. We have a special guest joining us, and I'll introduce him in a second. 3 pointers, Craig C. Dude, this is an interesting one with Deshaun Watson. I actually am watching Deshaun Watson cards now because I'm very curious to see how low they will go, because if he is innocent or if it is something that gets settled and maybe it's a 2-game suspension or 4-game suspension or something not so serious, then I don't know, man. It's just a weird spot. Trade, lawsuit. Is he innocent? Is he not? More than likely, it's somewhere between, not fully innocent, but definitely not guilty. And he's probably somewhere in the middle, but who knows? But anyway, it's very interesting. I'm looking at his prices for sure. Thank you, Cody. Marvel cards. Yeah, my guest here will know a lot about Marvel cards. Okay, so that's a Kobe, Garnett, Duncan. Yeah, well, I mean, here's the thing. You're jealous that we have card shows. We're jealous that you live in Hawaii. So, and that's coming from someone that lives in Southern California. I hope not. Okay, I'm going to travel for card shows more as I scale up, but living in Southern California, there's actually some decent shows here. So I'm going to start here locally. Yeah, and there we go. The Space Jam cards, there are some with Jordan that have started to go up. The one thing with Olympic cards and Space Jam cards is that it's a very tight window, because if you miscalculate, it's pretty much done. Like a Michael Jordan Space Jam card, it only makes sense for this specific moment in time, right? The next couple months, and we don't know if it's going to spike a month before Space Jam 2 comes out and then is going to go down, or it's going to spike the day before the release of Space Jam, or who knows. But if you get it wrong, then you're stuck with a card that you may have paid $300 for, and then it goes down to 120 and just stays there for the next 5 years, and there's no reason for it to go up. And similar with the Olympics. All right, so let me bring on my guest. He is an early investor in Twitter and Uber. He has a huge company called VaynerX, and everyone knows him. He is Gary Vander. No, Lisa, no, not again. Who do we have then? Okay. All right. Yeah, bring him on. All right. Sorry, guys. The original guest canceled. We have Dusty, the personal fiance dud.
What's that? You didn't pay the internet bill. I just got on a live stream. Okay.
Dusty, how far away are you from the damn camera? You're like, hey guys.
I'm hiding from the family upstairs.
They're hiding from you. It's okay.
I'm in a closet.
How are you doing?
I'm in a closet upstairs.
Well, you got to come out of the closet eventually, Dustin. Walked into that one. So, well, I brought you on very last second, and the reason was because, for one, we have a really good rapport and banter, and I really like chatting with you on that. But also, I like planning out. I like looking at the calendar and looking at what products being released, what's going on in sports, what's going on in society, and getting different perspectives as to, am I reasonable in these predictions, or am I missing a couple things? So I actually sent this to you earlier, And the goal was for you to like look over and just give me your thoughts as to what you think the next 90 days are going to look like with sports cards. Plus, you know a lot more about NBA Top Shot and the other stuff. So
you sent this to me earlier. All right, I'm just looking back. All right, I'm ready. All right, which topic do you want to hit first?
the next 90 days. Yeah, I don't know if you saw that part or everything I sent you.
I just got timing the market, stimulus checks.
Did you click on it and read it all?
Oh, there's more on the. Oh my God, you actually put a lot of effort into this. Okay, all right.
This is why that emoji was created.
Well, all right.
Did you listen to the last 10 minutes?
All right, let's take it one step at a time. Next 90 days. And I've been talking about this too. I feel like prices are way down. I actually just listened to you talking, about just various players, vintage and stuff like that. I mean, it seems like across the board, outside of maybe baseball cards, like you had mentioned, I know baseball is pretty hot right now, but that makes sense because we're entering into the season. But everything else is just like chopped way down. I mean, a lot of prices on key players are way down. It's not like it's just prospects. It's not like it's just like, I don't know, some random NBA player that's new, his stuff is down. It's literally like Giannis, LeBron, it's everybody. Michael Jordan rookie cards, everyone's freaking out because they're selling at 450K instead of 700. It just seems like it's down. And so the next 90 days, I'm really interested to see, are people going to take advantage? Is this kind of a buy time? Because we're always talking about, we're trying to buy low and sell high. Or is this a time? Is this a buying time? And I think I'm going to be buying pretty heavily if it continues on this trend.
Okay, well, here's my take, and I'm the same way. I see the vintage 90s that's dropped. However, and I gotta throw this in there, I kind of accidentally, I bought 2 Hakeem Olajuwon PSA 9s Friday night for $1,400 each, and it's a decent price. But then after putting this calendar together, I have reason to believe it'll go down further.
Which price did you get?
$1,400 each, and for Hakeem Olajuwon Fleer, 86 Fleer PSA 9. So I'm fine with the price because overall, I'm looking at the chart, that was my max bid, and it pretty much was that. But looking at the chart or looking at the calendar I created, there's a lot of new product next month. Tons. There's like all the best new products. So I imagine people are going to go there. There's also school letting out, and you're a dad, so you might be able to touch on that a bit more. School letting out. The travel restrictions are going to get lighter and lighter, not heavier and heavier. It's going to get warmer. People, I believe, are going to want to travel more because they have an extra year of not vacationing and a year of stress built up. Because I want to travel more. I want, like, just for the sense of normalcy, I want to travel. I want to get on a plane and go somewhere because I crave it, right? I crave it anyway. But after a year of not having it, I imagine people are going to put that tax money or stimulus money or whatever into travel more so than buying stuff for the house, especially when you know that, all right, summer is a couple months long and there'll be a point where school comes back in and all that. So that's part of my mindset. And then you have NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs, NFL draft, and you have baseball in full swing. And that's when I was thinking vintage could just be completely left in the dust over the next 60 days because who really cares about those players with so much other active players and sports going on?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of nailed it. I mean, I think that I think about those things too. Are we going to get back to some sort of normalcy where people are doing, just spending more money on other things that they haven't been able to the last year? I agree with that. And then another thing I've been seeing too in chats and on different places is people just wanting to cash out. I've been seeing more of that where it's like, I'm a long time collector. I think what's happened is prices have started to come down fairly consistently. And I think there's some people, it's happening also in NBA Top Shot, which I understand these are 2 very different markets, but there is like a sell-off that's happening on Top Shot. And then there's also, I think it's happening too with sports cards. I think there's maybe longtime collectors or just people that have been doing it for the last few years that have been holding on to some cards. And they're like, look, I'm up double, I'm up triple. Maybe I need to cash out, or at least cash out a portion or whatever. I think, and maybe it's just a big sell-off right now. But it seems fairly consistent, across outside of baseball, outside of and I can't speak for vintage baseball. I've just heard as far as like the Acuñas and the Tatis and all that stuff, all the prospects and the newer players are, they're hot. But I'm not in that world. I'm not buying and selling baseball cards. I'm just hearing about it.
Yeah. In terms of baseball, that's not my market at all. And I'm happy to sell preseason. It's just with vintage. Yeah, I feel like vintage is just going to get left behind. But I don't even know. I was kind of looking at the comments while you were talking. So I'm just trying to make up something like I heard you. Anyway.
You weren't listening at all.
Well, okay. So how about this? This summer, though. Okay. Well, this summer we have okay. I hear you saying like people are selling off. And for one, I just think that vintage and 90s, even though it's looking good now compared to where it was a month or two ago, I still feel like there's so much going on with the Olympics, with Space Jam, with so much new product and everything, that the best time to buy vintage may be in the next 90 days, but not necessarily right now. I feel like there's room for it to drop more just based on if there's $10 million being bought on cards, or let's say 100 million, whatever. Where's that going? I could imagine a lot more of that going towards newer product and active players. And then the thing is, like this summer, though, I feel like this summer is going to be the exact opposite of last summer, because we have everything going on this summer. Like travel going, we have the Olympics. And even though I remember them saying that you can't travel to Japan, you have to be a local to attend, there's still a lot of buzz around that. We have Space Jam, people going to movie theaters, probably all that. And that's why I don't want to compare this summer to last summer, because it's going to be the complete opposite. So I'm looking at summer like that could be the best time to buy pretty much everything, because without the stimulus checks, without government assistance, with just the economy being rolling and people wanting to go out and eat and do all these other things and travel and not really thinking about sports because the playoffs have ended, that's where I'm thinking that could be like the time to really go in.
Yeah, I'm prepping up for it because I think that you're right. I think there could be a really big buying opportunity, and that I like vintage stuff. So for me, I think that there's going to be there's going to be a lot of new basketball product coming out here with Prism basketball, Prism with Optic. There's going to be a lot of exciting new basketball product coming out, and I think that there's going to be a lot of focus on it. I'm assuming so anyway. But yeah, I do think that, and you mentioned 86 Fleer basketball. I mean, that's like the currency for basketball cards. Like you can't really, the fact that you got kind of bought in on the low end for the Hakeems, I think you're fine there. I mean, I've been looking at nines too, Hakeem nines for a while. And that is a card that I've got 1/8, but I'd like to have a 9.
Oh, okay. That brings up a really good point, because I was looking at Charles Barkley PSA 8 86 Fleers, and here's my theory: is I think a lot of those cards that were on Comp C and whatnot were probably 7s, but perhaps 8s. And I would not be surprised if there's a handful of 8s at PSA and at BGS, but the 9s and 10s, I think those are very tough to come by. All the cards that are being dug up out of people's attics and whatnot, more than likely, I would imagine are going to be 8s or 7s, something like that. So I was looking at Charles Barkley, and I was looking at others, and I go, well, maybe I get an 8 because 8s are still valuable. And then I think to myself, I think 8s, the pop report of 8s are going to go up a lot more than the pop reports of 9, just because if any of these cards are being discovered in people's closets and garages and wherever else, and even just taken down on Comp C, now with so much money being put into the hobby, a PSA 8 is actually somewhat valuable. So it's worth grading that. But a PSA 9 of a Hakeem Olajuwon or a Charles Barkley, that was already somewhat valuable 2 years ago. So that was already worth grading back then. So I would imagine that if you're looking at vintage, just remember that there's a chance that a lot of these cards, a lot of the 8s and 7s are probably at PSA now, but the 9s are going to be tough, and the 10s will be almost impossible to find new ones.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that there's for key players, if you can get a PSA 9 in vintage, it's almost like having a PSA 10 in modern or ultra modern. I mean, it's very, very difficult to get 9 grades with 35-year-old cards. It just is. Yeah. Oh, speaking of traveling, I booked my national hotel room this morning.
Oh, so you're going?
I mean, assuming it happens, yeah. Honestly, my wife and I were talking. We might just go regardless. I might just go to Chicago, even if they don't have the show. But yeah, we're booked.
Awesome. Well, you have an extra bed, and I'll pop in there.
It's just Perfect. One king. It's not two king. It's not two queens. It's just one.
That's fine. A king. Three is perfect.
We've got a pull-out couch.
Perfect. Definitely look into that. And I see a couple of people were asking about going to shows, and I might go to the next Dallas show because the Dallas show is growing bigger and bigger, and I'd love to check it out. But also, the National is like one of those things where you got to go. I mean, this hasn't happened since 2019, which was months and months before I even got back into the hobby. So this is the first experience of it. And whatever the show was like in 2019, it's probably a third of what it's going to be like this year. So it's not really a question if I'm going.
Oh, I know. I was going to ask you too. I mean, I'm looking at if you look at the NBA right now, LeBron is hurt, Steph Curry is hurt, Kevin Durant is hurt. Who's going to win the championship this year? I was looking at that and look, I mean, I think that LeBron will be back, KD will be back, AD will be back. I think all these guys will be back, but it just kind of shows you that in a split second, the card market's tied to all this stuff. In a split second, things can change. I don't know. I just thought that was kind of interesting.
Well, it is, and I mean the Deshaun Watson thing. In a split second, the most hyped player in terms of trade rumors. Now all of a sudden, everyone wants to get away because we don't know what he's guilty of, if he's innocent, if it's a combination, what's going to happen. Is there going to be a settlement? Is there going to be a suspension? There's just a lot of uncertainty. Real quick, Joe, good to see you, Joe. I did email you your eBay gift card. I did not get a response that you received it. Just look at your emails for the gift card and email me back. And just want to make sure you got it. That was for the 10K giveeway. And that was
to be your friend. He's not trying to be your friend. He just wanted the gift card.
That's okay. It's business here. It's business. It's all good. But something else that I'm realizing now when I put together this calendar for the year is I love buying and selling. It is fun just to keep the train moving. And I got to remind myself, there's 100 different cards I'm watching on eBay, and I'm looking at it, and I can spend very quickly because I feel like it's a good deal. But if I were to just take a step back and take more of that 30,000 foot view and look back at, hold on a second, let's put this together in terms of the next 90 days and 6 months. There could be 2 more months that are way better to buy a specific type of card and player. And I need to take that step back because I find myself just getting those eBay reminders, ending soon, 3 hours, 5 hours, whatever. And I'm buying cards that I think are solid deals, but I have much better reason to believe it'll be a steal if I just wait another month or 2 months. So just something to think about because it is fun to buy.
I bought, speaking of that, and I've talked to my channel a lot, 89 score football I'm big into. Barry Sanders rookie card, Troy Aikman rookie card, Deion Sanders rookie card. Really cool set. And over the last few weeks or last couple months, I bought PSA 9s, focused on 9s for those. And the Barry Sanders was at about 300, 325. I picked up a few of those. And then literally 2 weeks ago, I picked up one for 225. Now I'm comfortable paying the 300. It's fine. I still feel like that's a good price for that 9. But I'm just thinking if that goes down sub 200, I might buy 10 of them. Maybe I just need to chill out and just wait, kind of like what you're saying, just wait another few weeks and see what happens.
So real quick, guys, if you'd like to see that calendar, I'm wanting to do a complete calendar. Maybe I'll ask Dustin for more different points because right now it's really just product releases, what's going on in sports, when do playoffs start, when do they end, induction ceremony, Hall of Fame induction ceremony, that kind of stuff, the things we really look for as collectors and investors to see where the market's going. But then also holiday spending, when school is back in, when the travel's over. I'm trying to piece all that stuff together, and I'll have a complete one. But if you were just hopping on now and you didn't see the calendar I put up, there is a link that I'll just share at the bottom here, and you could just view it. It is right there. So it's the comebackkardinvestor.com free notes. And then you just scroll down to the bottom and you have March, April, May, June. And those are the thoughts I have. So Dustin, maybe after this, you could actually look at the notes that I had that I wanted to share with you ahead of time.
I'm preparing while you're talking.
Okay. So in terms of, like, all right, so you're more in Top Shot and that kind of thing. I just really wanted to get a better idea as to what's going to be the next window to buy. Is there anything that you see that I didn't point out, or anything else that any other factors that you could think of besides sports, travel, stimulus checks? Like, I know there's a lot of stimulus. There's PPP loans for self-employed. There's that. I'm waiting for that to dry up, right? And that's why I think summer will be even better, because summertime, less money from the government and more ways to spend it, because less restrictions, warmer weather, more travel, more dining, all that. And then playoffs ending. I'm like, that sounds like the perfect storm. And if you remember back in October, November, when we were talking about that Anthony Davis PSA 10, and you said you might get one if it drops to 1,000, and I was looking at one at 1,200. Well, that would have been a great buy, right? That would have been great, because that shot up to like 3,000 before I think in January. So I'm looking at summer, like the middle of June, or when the playoffs are over, or even if the playoffs are going on and those teams and players that are eliminated, that could be a very similar situation to what we had back in October, November.
I think too, maybe just one other thing is just overall kind of macroeconomic stuff that maybe we're just not seeing that could be coming, and who knows what that is. Maybe it's interest rate hikes. I don't really see interest rate hikes coming, but it's kind of like, I've been watching different stuff on just the government printing money, and there's a lot of just talk of like, naturally prices are going to be inflated because all this money is just being pumped into the economy, and it's got to go somewhere. It's got to go to, it's going to go to travel, or it's going to go to home improvements, or it's going to go to sports cards or comic books or whatever. But it's going to, oh, thank you, Jeremy. Appreciate it.
Well, I mean, that's very generous of you, Jeremy. I'm looking at Dustin's hair, and I'm like, he did put in a bit more effort, but
hey, for an almost 40-year-old, I'm hanging in there. I don't have no spots, no spots coming.
It's not just spray painted on.
I got rid of the spray paint a few weeks ago. It was leaving kind of a weird residue.
That's what that was. Got it. Okay.
I mean, I guess, and then also like unemployment, because it just feels like the economy it's not good, but it's not really being talked about. And, it's like, it's not in the news, and there's a lot of people that are out of work, trying to figure out new careers, service industry people trying to figure it out. And I'm just wondering, like, when is that something that could pop? Is that like a factor that we're just not thinking of because we're just not seeing it? I don't know.
Well, it is. I mean, macroeconomics and us, and that's why I like to look at, when do people have money? And remember, last October, November, when we were talking, no one really buys in between Halloween and Thanksgiving, because we know that everyone is going to be buying Black Friday onwards for Christmas, right? It's just kind of like between Halloween and Thanksgiving is like, all right, well, we're working, we're grinding, we got to finish these projects before the end of the year. We're not buying stuff unless it's festive, unless it's like whatever, but that's not the month to think about presents. Usually that's the time to save up, because you're going to have to travel to parents' house and buy your girlfriend something and buy her friend something. And that's when presents are going to be the thing. So I was wondering if that was a big reason as to why the cards were so cheap back then.
I told my wife last year, like, hey, look, it's going to be thin this Christmas because we've got cards to buy. All
like
right,
your hair.
Stay focused. Let's stay focused.
But I think that's the point, though, is that
you're right.
Just like we talked about, I got to stop buying now at good deals, because if I take that step back and say, hold on a second, the way it's looking, I think there could be a 3 to 6 week window where cards are just at ridiculous lows. And I think, for me, it's just making sense that summer would be that point, because Olympics, Space Jam, like a lot of stuff that if you're not buying for that, and then the playoffs are over, if money's going there and money's going to other areas that it wasn't going to this time last year, or even now and the last couple months, because it hasn't been accessible, I would imagine tons of money going to dining and vacations where people, like even myself, I would go like, I could use a vacation more than I could use a card, right? I would like to invest in a card, but I could really use a vacation because it's been over a year. So that's just the kind of stuff I'm thinking about.
Yeah, all right. It makes sense.
So what else you got going on? What else you thinking about?
No, it's weird because I was actually thinking the same thing. Like, I think I need to gear up for like big buying time, and I think it's coming. I think we've started into it over the last few weeks, and it's coming. I'm going to be in a different studio. We're moving, so going to be moving this coming week. So I'm going to be in a different room. Going to have some different things in the background outside of paintings. No, not pictures of you, Brad. Stop being weird.
Well, that's in your bedroom. That's in your bedroom, not in the studio.
But yeah, no, it's going to be good. I don't know, but so yeah, I'm not necessarily looking forward to moving all of our stuff this week. But what can we do?
There's a lot of talk here in the chat about the NBA playoffs, where you have LeBron going down with an injury, of AD, and just different thoughts on teams. You watch basketball more than me, so what's your take with the injuries, and who do you see coming out of, I guess, the East and the West, just based on this? Or do you think it's still going to be the same teams and it'll be okay?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the big Kevin Durant, the KD craze right now is the assumption that the Nets are going to either go to the finals or win the championship. I think that's where all that money pouring into KD is coming from. And I think it makes sense. I mean, it makes sense. It's also a 72-game basketball season, not 82. So it's going to actually be wrapping up here in the next, 30 days? Yeah, about 40 days or so.
Yeah, I want to say it was May 22nd was when playoffs start. So hold on a second. Let me make sure that's right.
I think it's the first week of May.
I got May 22nd.
Really?
Yeah, let me search that right now. But that's what I had down, which means that it's another 2 months. Yeah, the very beginning, if you just look on Google search, the front page, assuming Google's right or whatever it pulls it from, May 22nd to July 22nd. So that means we have 2 months, which to me means that there's enough time to go in on a team that you believe in. If you're right, if you're wrong, then
I mean, a really interesting team is the Utah Jazz. They're number 1 in the West. No one's taking them seriously because it's the Utah Jazz. And if you think about who's the guy for Utah, it's Donovan Mitchell. I mean, that's a guy where it's like, I'm sure there's probably some people that are secretly kind of loading up on Donovan Mitchell. I'm not one of them. But if you're kind of hedging against LeBron in the West, the Utah Jazz have been the best team so far. So yeah, I mean, I think it'll be really interesting to watch that. Or can the Nuggets kind of sneak into that conversation? Can Luka and the Mavs get up into like a 4 or 5, 6 seed? I mean, there's a lot of kind of storylines that come along with that are exciting for people that are investing in basketball cards that are not LeBron.
What's funny though about LeBron is I think to myself, I would rather invest in LeBron even if they don't win, just because if they don't win, for one, I don't know if he's going to be on the Olympics again. He can if he wants to. I don't know if he wants to because he's done it so many times, but also I don't know if it's just a good time to buy LeBron because let's say they don't win, but the backup is that there he is in Space Jam, and maybe it's a good movie. Maybe it's actually really funny. Maybe he does a great job.
I didn't realize how pumped you were to see the Space Jam movie.
I'm honestly not. Here's the thing. I'm not pumped to see it. I think it's rare to find the best athlete be a star in a movie. Like we've seen Tom Brady as small roles in Entourage and Ted and stuff like that. But to see LeBron James as the main character, because as a kid, Michael Jordan in Space Jam was a big deal. Like Shaq in Kazam. I don't know if you remember that movie Kazam.
Yep.
Horrible.
Terrible movie. Yeah.
The best bad movie ever, right? I loved it as a kid because I'm like, this movie sucks, but there's my hero. So it's the same thing where you have LeBron James in Space Jam, and also because if you grew up in the 90s and you watched the original, you might be able to appreciate the second one just because it reminds you of the original. So to me, LeBron is like, all right, well, let's see, he comes back from the injury. Maybe the Lakers don't make it, but then there's Space Jam. Space Jam's not that big of a hit, but maybe he plays again in the Olympics and maybe they win a gold medal again. I'm like, there's a couple of reasons why LeBron could be a great pick even before next year. And worst case scenario, it's LeBron. So it's not like it's more of a safer pick than a flashy one. But Donovan Mitchell, if the Jazz don't win or if they don't go far, I don't even know if he's going to be in the Olympics, like if he would play. Right? Maybe he could in terms of quality. I don't know if he would, but that's where I think, all right, he might be done until October or whenever they start the season again. Maybe it's November, maybe it's December.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of people that have been waiting for a while for a little bit of a cooling off of LeBron prices, because it's always, you hear a lot of buy the GOATs, buy Jordan, buy LeBron, buy Kobe. Well, it's easy to say that, but it's really expensive to buy the GOATs as it is right now. So if there is a down period for his prices, and I'm sure they get scooped up. I mean, I'm not really a LeBron buyer just for that reason, because everything just feels really expensive. But if they dip, then I'm a LeBron buyer, because I'm not going to pay the sky high record prices, but I mean, I'll get in if it comes down some.
Yeah, it's the same thing. It's just like, it's not the sexiest pick, but it's like when you get, just like when you see Jordan on sale or Kobe, it's like, well, the difference between them and LeBron and guys like Tom Brady is that they can actually add to their legacy. They pretty much, they're playing with house money in a sense, because if LeBron never wins again, he's still one of the best ever. If he does win, then just like Tom Brady wins, it's like, wow, you've enhanced your legacy even more. So to me, LeBron on sale just is just too easy. Like I think the better, I think this would be a good time to look into LeBron, because I'll be looking into him. But I would be wondering after the NBA playoffs, after Space Jam, if there's going to be a better window to get in on LeBron. My biggest question is where's the card market going to be in summer? I think that's the big question I'd like to know, because it makes sense that right now the card market is still pretty hot based on stimulus coming, based on travel not being crazy, based on this. So whatever it's at now, even if it's cooler than a couple months ago, I can only imagine it's going to cool off more in summer, because when you think of school coming back in August, I like, or September, I always feel like, all right, travel's over, people have got to get situated, kids are going to school, and then football vamps up. And it's like, all right, football season. And traditionally, all right, October, hockey and basketball season, the weather gets cooler, and that's when it's like, all right, go time. And that's where you're not traveling. So the money you are making is going towards purchases locally, whether it's dining or if it's just stuff for the house and whatever else. So I don't know, man. That's just my thought, is when you think of different seasons, I'm like, I think cards are just going to be kind of forgotten about this summer compared to everything else that's going to be open.
Yeah. I'm going to watch it. If the Lakers get knocked out of the playoffs, there will be a selling spree. I'm not saying everyone will sell their LeBrons immediately, but there will be a small, it might be a very small window, but there will be people that take profit, right? Off like right as that's happening. If the Lakers are down a couple games in the playoffs or something, I could see that happening. I'm not a huge LeBron guy. I'm not saying that I'll buy in a bunch of LeBron, but I would say I'm going to be watching that. I'm going to be watching very closely if the Lakers get down in the playoffs.
This was a good point, interesting point right here. LeBron won't quit until he plays with or against his son. That would be pretty incredible. I will say this about LeBron. If we're not watching much basketball, the fact that he could still be in the MVP conversation, 17 years after being drafted, something like that. Like, if I asked you, how many more years would you say LeBron has? Like, would you say that he could play at a high level? Let's not off the bench and maybe not MVP, but a starting role.
Yeah. Well, look, he'll start regardless. If he's in a wheelchair out there on the court, the Lakers will start him. I mean, just because of his legacy. If you remember, Kobe ended his career, he was hobbled. Kobe was at the end of his career, he was hurt. And he was not going to be, he wasn't the sixth man coming off the bench. LeBron will start. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Dude, well, that's the thing, is like, I don't know. I'm going to look at LeBron, but I just see a lot of players. I see a lot of opportunity. My big thing is I thought right now would be a great time to get vintage because of the giant spike that just happened. But now my overall consensus is wait on vintage for a bit longer. In terms of Star Stock, CompC, anything else, I saw there was a couple comments here regarding that. I'm fine with CompC. They've been pretty quick to upload my cards. I haven't gotten a shipment back from them in a while. I haven't requested one. But are you doing anything on CompC or Star Stock?
I've got a few cards that are up on CompC, but not much. I just haven't done a lot on it, but I also haven't put a bunch of stuff up for sale, so I haven't really been super active either.
I will say this with Susan, yeah, Michael Jordan, he had charisma. Watching The Last Dance, I was like, I like Michael Jordan in spite of him destroying my Orlando Magic back in the 90s every chance he got. I think Jordan was way more likable. At least that was my perception of him.
Yeah, okay. The thing that's odd about Jordan is you're right. It seemed like everybody loved Jordan, unless you were like a Knicks fan, or a Pistons fan. But everybody loved Jordan. There was his image was just it was weird, and maybe it's because he wasn't living in a social media world, But the same way that LeBron is. But yeah, his image was just squeaky clean for the most part. I mean, he had his Jordan rules, his gambling stuff and whatever. But I mean, he was very likable.
He was likable. I wonder if him going to college and coming out of UNC allowed him to mature a bit more, because I remember when LeBron entered the league, there was, King James and there was all this, and it rubbed me the wrong way. I remember being like, who is this guy? And obviously he's amazing, but I just felt like there was a lot more, I don't know if there was ego or just not as likable when he came into the league. While Jordan wasn't drafted number 1 overall, wasn't super hyped. He was like, watching The Last Dance, it's like, hey, this player should be good, but no one expected him to be nearly what he turned out to be. And LeBron came in as, you are supposed to be the next Jordan. And he actually lived up to it in terms of, you can't really do much else. But I think that rubbed me the wrong way. But anyway, guys, we're going to head off here. If you'd like to take a look at that calendar I put together, again, it's at the bottom there, comebackcardinvestor.com/free notes. Just scroll to the bottom. I'm going to do a complete calendar. Maybe I'll talk to Dustin more about different factors to include. But I just want to get a way or put together a way of looking at the next 8-9 months of the year and try to find opportunities where it should be low for football, for basketball, for baseball, for hockey, modern and vintage, even if you're just a collector and you're not looking to flip cards, but just ways to get in at a more affordable price, and see if we could put something together to at least get us ahead on that. Any parting words, Dustin?
No, thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, you kind of reached out there last second, but always fun to come on and mix it up.
Yeah, thanks for reading all my notes ahead of time, so you came well prepared. I appreciate that. Didn't put me on the spot at all. All right, guys, have a great Sunday. I will see you in that next video.